Welcome back to AmeriArc Welding Academy. We're back with another video for you. This time it's all about the root pass part 2. What we're gonna be doing today is a 70S6, a TIG root pass. I'm gonna show you my cleanup, how I tack the coupons up, and then we're gonna put in our TIG root pass. Let's get started. So we have our piece all cleaned up. We're about to tack the 2 coupons up. As you can see, I keep a knife edge, all right? I clean the inside of my pipe and I clean the outside. I'm gonna tell you my technique and how I clean the bevel of the pipe. I typically either just use a wire wheel if there's already a pretty smooth, let's say a torch cut on the pipe, or I use a sanding disc, all right? I do not use a grinder to clean up the bevel edge. The reason why I don't use a grinder is because it makes the bevel surface rough. And I want my cup to be able to slide on this surface if I'm walking the cup. Now, if I'm freehanding, it doesn't matter as much, but if I'm actually walking the cup, laying this cup in the bevel, right? Laying this torch cup in the bevel, I want this torch cup to be able to slide along this bevel. So I like to either just wire wheel it or clean it with a sanding disc. All right, let's tack this baby up and get started. So now that we have the piece all tacked up, just to explain to you, we're doing a TIG root. I'm using 70S6 TIG wire, size 1/8. 70S6 TIG wire is for carbon steel. I have 3 tacks in this pipe, okay? We're using a 532 gap. I like a nice wide 532 gap. If anything, I'm leaning on the heavy side of a 532 gap because the technique we're gonna use is a back feeding technique. The reason why I typically do 3 tacks in the pipe before I start welding is because it's one less tie-in, all right? So now I put the tack at 6 o'clock, I put the tack at 12 o'clock, I put 1 at 3, I leave 9 open. So which means now the open side, I run from 6 o'clock all the way to 12. All right? If I'm gonna use 3 tacks in this pipe, I'm gonna weld the open side, the side that does not have a tack on it first. Okay? The side that does not have a tack on it first. So now my whole right side is open. And now I'm gonna bring it from 6 o'clock and run it all the way to 12 because the tack at 3 o'clock is actually holding the pipe to prevent it from hinging, okay? So I have a nice wide gap, all right? I need to be able to really kind of jiggle that wire in there and fit that wire in there. As you can see, my tacks, I have 3 heavy tacks in there. They're about a 1/2 inch long. I typically don't like tacking more than a 1/2 inch long on a 6-inch pipe, all right? But enough talking, let's get to welding.
So as you see, I have the rod fully inside the pipe, and I'm mainly just focusing on keeping that rod attached to the puddle, just constantly feeding that puddle. And as you can see from when we show a front view, I am literally just going from knife edge to knife edge, right? Sweeping across the middle swiftly and just going, just washing that puddle to the left and to the right of each knife edge of the pipe. You have to keep that rod fully engaged in that puddle and just constantly feeding that puddle. And as you can see, the rod is inside the pipe.
I'm gonna switch my rods here. I think I told you in a previous video why I always I curl the tip of the rod so that if I'm like moving fast, I don't accidentally jab myself in the face or jab myself in the eye. All right, so I always kind of curl the tip of the rod. Plus, it also helps out if you need to kind of hang this on something. All right, but let's pick up where we left off at.
Now, right here, I'm gonna strike back up. I always start at least a 1/2 inch back before my tie-in. So before I actually reintroduce that rod to the existing bead that I just put down. Let's say if I have to take a break for a second, like I just did, I start a 1/2 inch back and I just creep up on that rod. So I'm on the top quarter of the pipe. Right here, I'm gonna hold that rod above the knife edge, right? We're kind of right to it, but slightly above, because gravity is gonna work to actually allow that puddle to drop into the joint. So now we're on the opposite side of the pipe, and we're still back feeding the same way, constantly keeping that rod inside the pipe. If I lose connection with the weld puddle and the filler rod, I just re-engage. Just put that rod right back as if it never happened. Still just going from knife edge to knife edge, sweeping across the middle. Now I'm on the top quarter of the pipe. Right here, I hold the rod above the bevel, not so much in, because gravity allows it to drop in.
So as you can see right here, I'm about to close up the last tiny, what's this, about 1.5 inches of this weld. So I want you to pay close attention. Once I actually get to that tie-in or get to that tack, right? Because that's technically my 12 o'clock tack. So I always ramp my tacks really good, which means take a grinder and literally grind the tip of that, the small tip of that tack until like a feather edge, like grind it down to like a sharp point, okay? And once I get ready to tie in at this tack, right? Well, this will complete my root pass. I'm gonna slow down. I'm gonna probably use like a dipping technique where I kind of dip, slow down, and really massage it in so I don't have no missed edge on my root pass. So that when the inspector comes and he inspects your root, he sees a complete, we call it a wedding band. He sees a complete fusion all the way around this pipe, all the way in the inside of this pipe without any voids, okay? So learning how to actually tie in is really important. Let's get started. Now I'm approaching this tie-in. This is the important part. there you have it, people. We're done with the root pass, TIG root pass on this 6-inch pipe, schedule 40. Let's check it out. I've showed you how my space, I use a 532 gap, a heavy 532 gap, right? Almost 316, but a 532 gap. I'm using 70S6 TIG wire, 1/8 TIG wire. My amps on my machine throughout this whole route, I was set at 90 amps. Every weld is different. You made like 100 welders set different type of amperages. It's all about whatever you can handle, whatever amperage heat that you can handle. This is my technique. This is the way I do it. But there's a lot of different variations out there that's just as good. Let's check out the root, see how it came out. Like, comment, subscribe. Look out for our welding competition coming soon, April 26, 2025. But like, comment, subscribe if you really like this video. This is all about the root pass part 2. And thank you. Don't forget the thumbs up. See you on the next one.